Hey guys, KingRazzel here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Deus Ex Mankind Divided. This game was released on August 23rd, 2016 on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and this review relates specifically to the version on the PlayStation 4, as that's the version that I played. As with my other reviews, I'll be breaking this game down into the categories of story, gameplay, and value. I also feel I should preface this review by saying that going into the game, I had no experience with the series, so this review will be coming from that perspective. The story of the game begins with your character, Adam Jensen, on his way to Dubai to capture an elusive arms dealer. When he and his team get there and finally make their way to the target, the arms deal Jensen planned on interrupting is instead interrupted by a third party of people all wearing gold masks. You and your team manage to stop these men, and Jensen returns to Praha to meet up with his contact, Alejandra Vega, at a train station. When the two meet, they are unexpectedly caught up in a bombing at the train station, and this is the basic setup for the story. From here, Jensen will work with his task force known as TF-29 to bring the bombers to justice and discover who these masked men of Dubai were. The story of the game has its good points and negative points, but let's go ahead and talk about the negative first. First off, I personally found coming into this game fresh was a bit overwhelming. This game takes place 2 years after the events of Human Revolution, from which Mankind Divided takes heavy cues, and its events really shape the world that you're playing in today. Which I think is awesome for players who played Human Revolution to get to see how what they did shaped the world. However, for players like me who didn't play that game, the startup of this one can be pretty daunting. The game does try to get you up to speed with the option to start the game with a 12-minute recap of events that happened in Human Revolution, but unfortunately, I didn't really get much out of that personally. The second issue I had with the story was sometimes the dialogue would stick.
You sounded pissed when you called me in. Everything okay?
Don't ever leave the field, Jensen. You'll regret it. As soon as you strap a desk to your ass, you'll be swimming in goddamn politics. What? Oh, that. No, the Troubled State Police. They're pushing us out of the Razika investigation.
This glitch only happened to me about 3 times, give or take, but I'm someone who likes to exhaust all dialogue, and missing some context is something that I just found to be a little bit annoying. The final issue I had was the ending of the game was just a bit lackluster. It's kind of difficult to talk about what I mean without, giving spoilers away. But in the end, pretty much all your choices just amounted to a summary. You don't really see how the choices affected the world moving forward, and instead, you're kind of just retold what you've done. The game also ends on a cliffhanger, so the story, it just feels more like a setup to a larger end goal. Now on to the positives for the story. First, let's look at the characters. For the most part, I liked the characters. Each one felt unique, and each one of them had their own agenda, even if you weren't necessarily a part of it. For example, I'm thinking of Aria Argentino. Aria is an augmented person just like Jensen is. However, she's not allowed into the field, and that's a big discrepancy for her. You can talk to her at the TF-29 headquarters and find out several things about her, but none of it is really exclusively related to the story, and it's mainly just conversation for the sake of conversation. This sort of conversation, just for the sake of it, it really made me feel more involved in the world, not to mention that the things people say are typically pretty interesting. The second thing I'd like to bring up is side missions. In this game, there are a number of side missions that can be done, and most of them have their own sort of branching storyline attached to them that don't necessarily intersect with the main storyline. To go as bare bones as possible with this and not give you very many spoilers, or really any spoilers at all here, I had a side mission for someone and I didn't complete it before moving past the warning that said it would be incomplete, and as a result, a character that I like paid the price. This sort of meaning behind the side missions is something that I like to see in games, and from what I saw, this game does a good job with the consequence aspect of it. The final, and in my opinion, best thing about the story of the game is the atmosphere in it. As stated, I didn't play Human Revolution, but through the recap in the beginning, I was made aware of something that happened in that game known as the quote-unquote AUG incident. This incident caused all AUG citizens to go involuntarily violent for a short period of time, and this caused massive distrust between the humans and augmented humans, which has led to the world of Mankind Divided. The world to me felt so alive with people. Even NPCs that served absolutely no purpose outside of atmosphere were very interesting. There were many times that I'd stop and just watch police arresting an AUG for God knows what reason. AUGs are kind of treated with extreme prejudice, and this hostility could be felt as you read the graffitied walls and hear the clank slurs from police and citizens alike. It really brought me into the game's atmosphere, and it's something that I really enjoyed about the game. Gameplay takes two main forms, stealth and first-person shooting. Stealth is the main thing I think the game wants you to focus on while playing, but first-person shooting is still somewhat viable at times. A typical mission starts you by going into an area and having a look around. You'll go into like a building or something like that and you'll see security everywhere. You may be able to look around a little bit, however, certain areas are going to be restricted and highlighted in red on the minimap. There is going to be many ways to get to your objectives, some more combat heavy and some more stealthy. You'll have the ability to hack terminals, alarms, computers, or doors, and all these will give you better coverage whenever everything just goes to hell. To make these encounters go a little bit smoother, you have your augments. You'll start the game with a few of them unlocked, but a majority of them can only be unlocked through the game's progression system. You'll earn praxis by leveling up, and these can be placed into your skill lines to increase your abilities, allowing you to do things such as go invisible for short amounts of time, or lift heavy objects that are obstructing your path. Gunplay works like a typical FPS, but switches when you go into cover, opting for a third-person view. Stealth usually sees you crawling through vents and around corners and quietly taking out the opposition either by a jab to the throat or an upgrade from your skill tree. This game can be played extremely stealthily, and you can't actually go through the entire game without killing anyone, not even bosses, but this is quite difficult, especially if you're someone who's not very experienced with stealth, such as myself. You can also customize your guns on the fly, adding silencers or just upgrading their main attributes. Overall, I enjoyed this game, but it did have its share of issues. For one thing, finding a viable path can be pretty difficult at times, especially if you didn't invest in the invisibility augment. A lot of times you'll see a door guarded by a person, and then behind that will be a barrier, and past that a door which is locked, and that's where the quest marker wants you to go. If you're stealthy enough and patient enough, you can search out the environment for a way around, but personally, I'm just not very good at that kind of method, so I died a lot. I thought the value for this game was pretty good. The game took me around 15 hours playing at my own pace and doing a decent amount of the side missions. There's also a New Game Plus option which carries over your augments as well as your inventory. Overall, I thought Deus Ex Mankind Divided was a good game. Some things I didn't like about the game were the at times confusing nature of the story for a newcomer such as myself, the anticlimactic ending to the story, and the gameplay didn't really accommodate for that much gunplay if that's what you're looking for. Some things I did like about the game were that the atmosphere was extremely interesting, the side missions were fun and offered interesting stories on their own, and the augmentation skill tree was quite extensive and offered some really fun abilities to unlock. I think I'm going to give this game an 8.5 out of 10. The atmosphere really drew me in, and I think that the main draw here, but I do think that some of the other aspects in the story, such as the ending and some of the aspects in the gameplay, could be improved upon. Alright guys, that is pretty much everything that I have to say on Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I tried to look at this game as fair and as just as I could, and this is where I landed on it. If you guys have played the game and want to share your opinions in the comments below, then please feel free to do so. The next video that I plan on doing will be a game trivia for this game, so if you want to do that, then just make sure you stick around. The next review that I plan on doing will be for Layers of Fear, and I know that game's a little bit older, but, you know, I want to play through it, and I figured if I'm going to play through it, I might as well just share my thoughts on it. And also, there's nothing I really want to review until the 13th coming out. I think Recore comes out that day. There's 3 games that same day that I want to get, but, yeah, that'll be the next review. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in my next video.